And this is a quick video on what I see as being kind of the unofficial religion of our society, which you could sort of call the law of the jungle, or the idea that might makes right. And you can see this in many different areas. One example would be evolution, right? I don't have any problem with evolution as a theory of how species evolved, but how it actually functions is more the idea that which survives, or that which passes on its genes, is inherently more valuable than that which doesn't. So that evolution almost becomes some refining process through which superior and superior life forms grow, and the worthless life forms do not. And that's not really true at all. All we can say is that those that survive, and those that pass on their genes and traits pass on their genes and traits, right? There's nothing that says that what does survive and what does pass on its traits is better than what didn't survive, right? Like if I go out and blow up a bunch of people tonight, blow them up, that doesn't mean that I'm more fit than they are. Survival of the fittest, right? And likewise, if you go out and knock up 100 people tonight and pass on all those genes, that does not imply that your genes are somehow have more value than the people who never have sex, right? It's just that which survives, that which passes on its genes, but maybe it would have been better if something else survived or something else passed on its genes. Another way we see this belief is in capitalism. Once again, I don't have any problem with capitalism as an economic system. But what it kind of morphs into is this idea that whatever makes it on the free market is inherently more valuable than that doesn't, as though survival on the market is a measurement of value, right? Even though we see people like Jesus being voted by the market, to be crucified and stuff like that. And just in our own lives, I'm sure we can all think of things that are really destructive, that were huge successes and made a lot of money, and then things that were really valuable, which didn't make it on the free market and didn't make any money, right? But still, in a functional sense, who and what does or doesn't make it on the free market tends to be used as a measurement of survival. I mean, of value, right? Like the cream rises to the top. A more minor example of this would be like celebrity. Like people get lifetime achievement awards where it's talk about how many Grammys they won and stuff, as though winning awards is something you should be given an award for, or people respect people for being successful, as though being respected is something you should be respected for, or being celebrated is something you should be celebrated for, right? It's the idea that if you are making money, or you are achieving acclaim, or you are passing on your genes, you must have some inherent value that those who aren't doing that do not possess. But that's really linking two unrelated things together, right? How successful something is, how much money it generates, whether it survives, and then what value it has, what it has to offer, are really two totally separate things. Yet another way that we would see this is in our ideas about poor people and rich people. Like, we tend to see rich people as being people who contribute, who are hardworking and responsible, and intelligent, whereas we tend to see poor people as having the opposite qualities. And this has like lots of ramifications for us. Like, for starters, it causes us to overvalue our own money and our own success, because we don't want those things anymore just for the money and the success itself. We want them because we need them to be seen as having value and to not have these negative ideas heaped upon us, right? So it causes us to over prioritize things that might not really add that much value to our lives. Another way that it has an impact is it causes us to not want to help those in need, because there's all sorts of ideas to imply that helping people in need is pointless, or maybe even a negative thing, because you could be enabling them, like they're already losers and now you're enabling them being a loser, or they're like lazy and now you're enabling them being lazy by helping them, right? It's almost like if you help the poor, you're like feeding a fungus or something, because you're enabling them to keep being poor. And so like we have all these ideas really about that stop us from reaching out to help those in need, and instead cause us to judge them and feel that we are superior. I mean, I think even the saying, give a man a fish, teach a man to fish, you feed him for life, give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. I mean, even that saying is interesting because generally speaking, we're not teaching the person to fish. We use that saying as an excuse to not give them a fish, because that will only help them for one day. As though giving them a fish would be a bad thing. But meanwhile, we're totally fine with sticking 17 fishes into our own mouth, right? But the idea is that somehow it would be damaging to give that person a fish. Another example of an idea that we use to keep from helping people in need or poor people is ideas like self-sufficiency and self-reliance. Once again, those are kind of bullshit ideas, because not just because nobody is self-sufficient, nobody is self-reliant, but realistically, the people who are most successful are the people who are the best networked into society, the best assimilated into society, who have the best relationships. It's really all about resources. Is really all about, it's not the guy a homeless person might be really self-sufficient, right? Because they're living out in the woods, like making a fire or something. But the people who are generally really successful are people who are very well networked, who aren't in any sense self-sufficient, right? But we still pull self-sufficiency out of our pockets when it's convenient as a reason to not help people who are in need. When in reality, if those people were networked back into society, they might have a ton to offer. But it's just easier, or perhaps it feeds our religion more, if we see them as people who lack a work ethic and people who are not self-reliant and self-sufficient enough. But the thing about it is, I don't think that that's how we want to live. I don't think we don't give to poor people because we're selfish. I think that there's these pressures on us and these ideas, we're kind of brainwashed into not doing it. And I think that that's not what people want, because I think that people get their joy from sharing, people get their joy from helping, people get their joy from giving what they have to give to other people, and it hurts us when we can't do that, And I think that's what people want to do, but we're pressured and we're brainwashed into not doing that through this jungle religion, through this might makes right religion that we have. It puts pressure on us, because another thing about it is we have to compete to have value, and helping someone else doesn't really help us in terms of competing to have value, Plus there's all these ideas like we might actually be hurting them by helping them. They need to figure it out for themselves or whatever. But in the end, I think what it really does is it hurts us by cutting us off from our biggest opportunities to seek joy and meaning and fulfillment. And so what happens is we replace those with basically entertainment, and after we focus on being successful and keeping ourselves safe, or perhaps our family, then we just focus on pleasuring ourselves, right? And it's sort of, the problem is that I don't think you really can pleasure yourself. I think pleasure is inherently tied to other people, I guess you can get fulfillment from jerking off or something, right? But I tend to think that you can't really, on some level. It's you have to be having sex. You can't really give yourself a massage or prepare yourself a delicious candle meal. All of those activities really get their magic through giving and receiving, right? And this jungle religion kind of hypnotizes us into not giving and receiving in ways where we easily could, and we could easily make our own lives better and more magical as a result. Because what if we didn't see that homeless person as homeless by their own doing? What if we saw them homeless because of our doing, or because of someone else's doing? That would be an entirely new way of looking at the world where there would actually be hidden treasures all around us, because now suddenly we are surrounded by all these magical beings that we basically have the power to reawaken and bring back to life. And I think it really just goes way beyond helping people and helping poor people. It's like a completely different frame of mind, right? Where we are living with like an open heart, and an open heart is like an open imagination, and an open imagination is like joy and magic and possibility, and just like living in a world where treasures are everywhere and wonderful things can happen, and you can bring wonderful things to life all around you and awaken them, you know? And whereas when we're in the other religion, oh, everything is the way it is because the people who are down are shit, the people who are up are gods, and we got to try to get closer to the gods and get away from the shit. And it's just like being on this like pressurized approach to life. Yeah, I mean, I just don't think that humans can experience joy from that framework. So yeah, that's my opinion, that we live under this religion, and that we should really like question some of these beliefs, because I believe that like a more magical existence could be possible. I'm Julie Neckley. Thank you. Bye.